Ben Reilly is the clone of Peter Parker. Madeline Pryor is the clone of Jean Grey. Together, they will join forces to take down Spider-Man and the X-Men. Enter the Dark Web. What's up, webheads? Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. I'm your host, Mike Spider Slayer. Get ready to bring you another episode of Spider-Man Weekly, and as promised, I will be covering the Dark Web, and the first issue of the Dark Web has arrived. We have Dark Web Dusk. That's right, guys. This book is written by Zeb Wells. The artwork is done by Adam Kubert. And let me tell you, after reading this first issue, I was pleasantly surprised. And it feels like there was some thought process behind this story. And it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It feels like a Spider-Man comic book, which it should, right? And I can't wait until this thing really starts going here. But this introductory issue, I had a blast. So let's look at the artwork here done by Adam Kubert. We got great cover art here on the main cover. I love the quality of this book here. It seems like Marvel is starting to get a little bit better with their cardstock quality on their covers. It looks like they upgraded a little bit. It looks like your fingerprints are not going to stick to these covers, so it's a little bit better, right? When you look in the interior artwork, you get great facial expressions in this book, which I have really appreciated. Madeline Pryor looks really good. There is a couple questionable calls when it comes to, some of the facial expressions when it comes to Peter and Mary Jane in the book, but nevertheless, I had a blast looking at this, and there was a couple of pages in here where I was like, okay, what is Hallows Eve going to look like here? What is Venom going to look like here? Because Venom is in this book. And again, I just really liked looking at it, and it has that horrific, a little bit dark and a little bit gritty tone to the comic book. Here we get to see some cool pages in here as well. So I really enjoyed the way this book looks. So let's talk about this story now and why I enjoyed it so much. Okay, so number one, we get introduced to Ben Reilly and we get introduced to Janine as he is having some kind of dream, and obviously his memories have been taken away from him, and he's been plagued by that ever since the Beyond storyline. Like, memories have been slowly being taken away because of the Beyond Corporation and everything that had happened there, and then obviously the accident that happened, and he blames Peter Parker for everything that has gone on, right? So that's what happens in the beginning. So it's this big dream, and then he meets up with Madeline Pryor in the beginning of the issue, and they have this conversation that they have this MO. They're both clones. They're a bunch of losers, but together they feel like they can team up to take out the most common enemies. So Ben Reilly is going to go after Spider-Man and the people that he loves, and Madeline Pryor is going to get Hallows Eve to do her dirty work for her because she can't go into, she has some kind of restrictions based off of the laws of Krakoa. After the nice little introductory page, we get a little scene here of all of the cast of characters of Spider-Man getting together to remember Harry Osborn. Now, he most recently died in the pages of Nick Spencer's run, and remember that Harry Osborn was a clone, okay? So you do get to see Mary Jane in here. We get a mention of Paul, but we don't see Paul, and there's a little tease in here saying, what's the story with you and Paul, and how do you have kids? And she's like, it's a long story. We'll talk about it later. And you're just like, oh man, that's a slap in the face, right? And I didn't give you guys this, but there is spoilers in this, so I'm just letting you know. Hopefully you read your copy before I go through the entire book, but this is how I want to express this event, by letting you guys know what has happened, and for the people that are not reading it, that can follow it. All right, so we're going to continue on, and we have a ceasefire between Mary Jane and Peter Parker. He buys her oat milk or oat coffee or some kind of crazy shit like that, and it was kind of cool seeing all all these little cast of characters together, even if it was very brief, it made it feel like a cool Spider-Man comic. Then we get to see Norman Osborn in the book as well, talking with Peter how he went to the Coffee Bean, but he just wanted to stay afar because he feels that no one trusts him or no one really likes him, even though he's still trying to go the straight and narrow, right? So they had a talk with each other. Peter had a really heartwarming moment with Norman and saying, Harry will be missed, even though he was a clone. And he goes, yeah, that is true, As the issue continues, you do get to see the whole plan come into place, and you get to see kind of like why Venom is involved in the comic as well, like in the event. And I was questioning that if it was Dylan Brock or Eddie Brock, and it's actually Eddie Brock is involved in this comic book. And for some reason, his son is missing, and Madeline makes a deal with him to actually find his son. So I was like, okay, so what's going on that his son is missing? Does it have to do, obviously, with the main Venom storyline? You're going to have to read the Venom tie-in to get the full effect of that, right? So again, it's just to, I guess, have him find his son. But by the time you get to the end of this issue, like, Venom goes all full out crazy. And I'll show you when we get to that point, okay? And then it was kind of cool. Then you get to see the X-Men go together and walk Rockefeller Plaza, and they're checking out the shops. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. You get Madeline Pryor, who's doing her, like, demonized chants and limbo chants, and all of a sudden everything in Rockefeller Plaza winds up coming alive. You get to see like horse carriages become like monsters, and Spider-Man spider sense is going out, and you get to see that here. And it was really cool, man. It's just weird, wacky stuff. Kind of reminds you of the Free Comic Book Day issue. Then you wind up seeing Havoc and Iceman, Firestar, Jean Grey, and Cyclops in the book starting to do battle as well. And they obviously realize that Madeline Pryor is behind this. There's a couple jokes made with Havoc. Obviously he dated Madeline Pryor, and they're like making fun of him. He's like, what's your girlfriend up to? That's what Iceman said. And he's like, it's not my girlfriend, But what made this comic a little bit more cooler, and they're not in a prominent role quite yet, but what made this comic really a lot of fun and even more like a Spider-Man comic was that it had Spider-Man, obviously, Ben Reilly. It had the cast of characters. It had Firestar, and it had Iceman in there, from the old days of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And it's got Venom in here. So it really gives it that, real true Spider-Man feel to it. The only thing that's a little bit off is the X-Men, but that's okay. That's fine. And we get to see, again, they have this common thing with each other to try to defeat the people that they hate, right? The coolest thing, though, in this book was we do get to see Norman Osborn here. And he sees that there's danger out in the city. So he's like, you know what? Why not? And he's going to suit up as the Gold Goblin, save the town, help people. And then he confronts Ben Reilly, Chasm, in the book, and he's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. So what Chasm is going to do is he's going to take out the people that Peter is close to or has done him wrong. And obviously he has lots of memories of Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, still in his head, that he is not the right person, so he wants to fight him. So right away we get to see a battle that happens in this comic book, and it was pretty awesome. And Ben Reilly kicks his ass. He kicks him against the wall. He calls for his Gold Goblin costume. He suits up. You think like the tables are going to turn. And then the next thing you see is that Ben Reilly was there before him. He kind of hacks his suit. It blows up. Norman Osborn can't react in the suit or quick enough. And he is literally kicking the shit out of Norman Osborn. You're just like, oh my God. And then the next thing you wind up seeing is that Venom meets up with Madeline Pryor and Hallows Eve, and he has all of a sudden this thing for Spider-Man, and he says, we're going to eat Spider-Man's brains. And it just reverts back to the original Venom that we all know and love. And I'm just kind of like, did Madeline Pryor put some kind of spell on him to have him revert back from the King in Black to this point? But it's not really, I guess, discussed, or you really don't know what happened. So I don't know, man, but damn, Let me tell you guys, after reading Dark Web, issue 1, this was a really damn good comic book, and it sets things up on what's to come. This, I feel like, is the real deal. And I think there was some great writing involved here. I think there was definitely a really thoughtful plot here as well. And I love all the characters. Even though some of them weren't in it as much as others, I feel like Zeb Wells has got some writing chops here when it comes to writing Peter Parker, a little bit of Mary Jane. It just, I know what pisses people off is that you don't have Mary Jane and Peter actually together. You don't know anything about Paul. You don't know what happened after the 6 months. But I am telling you, after reading this first issue, I think we're going to be in for a great story, and it's going to lead into all that stuff. So, guys, if you haven't picked up Dark Web and you're on the fence about it, go ahead, pick it up. I'm telling you, you will enjoy it. But if you want to save your money, continue to follow me here, right here on Comic Book Corner 2.0, and I will cover every single issue that has to deal with it. I'm crossing my fingers the tie-ins will be just as good, but you know how tie-ins are sometimes, but at least the main story is going to be awesome. So at the end of the day, guys, I'm probably going to give this book, I want to say a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this book. This is one of the best Spider-Man stories I read in quite some time, and I can't wait for more. So guys, leave me your thoughts in the comments below. If you read this, what you thought, and if you like, make sure you pow that like button and pow that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos from me. And if you love my content, guys, I'll leave you more content right here. In fact, this is the Group 6 elimination round for my top 10 comic book cover series as we're getting close to the end of the year, where you're going to have that final vote on which comic book cover gets the all-important title of comic book cover of the year. And of course, guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but more importantly, always read your comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye.